I love that song. We've got an intro. We have an intro. Everyone, welcome to tonight's episode of the Monday Night Asian Movie Talk Show. I am your host, the Arty Dans, and joining me, as always, is the wild, the wonderful, the brilliant Wilco C Rullens. My friend,
with an intro like that, I wish I had a more wild background. Maybe
you need like a WWE entry.
Yeah. Exactly. Complete with robe and be like, yeah. Then the music will fit as well. Maybe I will work on that for future episodes.
You know what? I bought that music track about 2 years ago, and I've flogged it to death. So I've probably kind of due up for a new music track.
All right. Well,
yeah.
But anyway, this one still works. This one is pretty peppy. How do you call that?
How have you been?
I've been pretty good. Last 2 weeks been interesting. Of course, to start with, Ouija Japan, we're working on the package, and as far as I can see it, fingers crossed, we can deliver it to our distributor end of this week or maybe Monday next week. That's what we're planning. So that's good. That's progress. That's nice. I am happy. I'm happy with that. Besides that, what did I watch this week? Things I did. Well, of course, business continues further. We had some meetings, some interesting meetings for maybe some stuff in the future in Shanghai. But hey, I cannot talk about that. We're just having meetings.
Exciting.
Of course, I won't forget you about if we're talking about Shanghai. Hey, Dan. Besides that, I watched some stuff. To start with, the first thing I watched was not last week, but 2 weeks ago episode number 2 about the Mutant Girl Squad.
Yeah, Mutant Girl Squad.
To see if I'm one thing pretty dumb. I said it right the first time when I said that I went to Shanghai and I found someone to teach me Japanese, and that I then stop learning, didn't learn, but basically made this person my CEO. And that was kind of correct when I said it the first time, but I noticed the second time I abbreviated it. I made it like, how you say that? I made it shorter or summarize it in a very terrible way by saying that I made my translator my CEO. And of course, I meant my teacher. She was my teacher at that point. Yes. And besides that, of course, I cannot just make anyone CEO. She obviously worked hard for it. And, I have to say that as well. Let me see if the gun is still pointing at me. Oh, no, I'm safe.
No.
That's good. But of course, the true story is that we saw potential in what we could do. We had the same goals, and we decided to start a company together. She's the business. I am the creative. And that's why I was more making fun of myself that I was lazy and didn't learn the language and basically made this person my CEO. But of course,
we've all done that.
The bullets that came on my way that night told me a different story.
you got instant feedback.
Instant feedback. Yeah. You can. I must say, in the office, the feedback is very, very quickly. So that is really good. But anyway, no. All jokes aside, of course, it's all based on company decisions and stuff like that. But I was making fun of myself. But I guess I made something very short that I didn't say the right way. So that's rectified. Besides watching my own show, our show, I watched some, of course, Tokyo Gore Police, our movie for today. And because I was kind of on a Nishimura binge, I remembered Vampire Girl and Frankenstein Girl, so I watched that as well.
What a movie. What a movie.
I mean, that I just had to watch it after Tokyo Gore Police. And actually, I stayed very much in the Japanese realm. I kind of got back in the Sukabon fetish thing, let's say. So I watched Terrifying Girl High School, Lynch Law Classroom.
Wow, what a translated title.
That's a good title, right? It's from the 70s, 74, I believe. It's not necessarily a Sukabon film of that line of movies of the girl boss films, but it's with the same actresses, but then it's just kind of a separated standalone film that I really enjoyed after all those time to review it again. And I think for the next 2 weeks I'm gonna go the Zero Woman movies. I'm gonna watch those. Especially Zero Woman R and Zero Woman Red Handcuffs. Those are the ones I have on my list right now. And the last thing to end this whole what did I do in the last 2 weeks story is that I watched a Dutch movie. That's nice. It's like an
That's so
old
unique.
movie that is really like back to the fatherland, and it was a ridiculous comedy that I haven't seen. Came out in 2017, but I've been in Asia since 2011, so I didn't have a chance to see it.
Yep.
And it's I will say it in my worst Dutch voice. That's the title. The title is a Dutch title, of course. It's Ron Goossens, low budget stuntman. It's not even Ron Goossens. It's Ron Goossen. Anyway, it's some very, very crazy Dutch comedy movie that translates to Ron Goossen, which is a Dutch name with low budget stuntman. So it's basically an alcoholic that does stunts. Well, of course, he doesn't really do stunts correctly. He's just an alcoholic. So he just throws himself in danger for movies in order to be able to score a very, very hot lead lady in Holland, because he made a deal with his girlfriend that she would not stay with him if he wasn't able to score the big actress. So that's the story.
Any good?
Yes, hilarious.
Oh,
very good. Especially, I don't know. I will probably have to find some subtitles and maybe hand it your way at one point.
I tend to find that with Australian movies. I'll watch an Australian movie and really like it, only because it's Australian. So,
these are the type of films that are kind of in our comedy range. Yeah. So they're great. I loved it. I enjoyed it. I'm a little late in seeing it, but that was great. So how was your time?
Oh, I was not bad. I just have to say that we seem to be starting every episode with an amendment or an apology to the previous episode. So that's twice you've done that now, and we're going to go for a hat trick next week. Well, let's hope not, but maybe. I watched a handful of interesting movies. I finished off the Lust of the Dead series. I finally watched part 5.
Nice.
Then I did the massive mistake of watching a movie called Scissor Dick and had a long... Yeah, exactly.
Why isn't it not on our list? It sounds amazing.
Because I've had a hell of a time getting my video approved by YouTube, and the review for that should be coming next week. But it's...
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. If you want to go watch it, go ahead and watch it. We can talk about it. I think people will probably love to hear about it, but it is effed up.
What is it? Which country?
It's Japanese, of course.
Japanese, really?
Yeah. It's directed by what's his name? The guy who did Lust of the Dead.
Really? That guy?
Yes, same dude.
Yeah, I don't know. These are one of the more difficult Japanese names. Really? He did it? How old is this movie?
2 years old.
Seriously, I guess I missed.
Yep. 2018, 2019. Now, I watched a strange American movie called The Dark Tower, which I never thought I would enjoy. I don't know if you know anything about it, but it is great.
Which one is that?
It's got
one, right?
Yes, Matthew McConaughey is in it.
Okay, that one. Yeah.
Idris Elba, and fantastic. Loved it.
The only thing I heard about that film is that it didn't really follow the book as closely as people have wanted. I didn't read the books. I just watched it and I thought it was okay, but I have no connection with that film. So what was your experience?
I just enjoyed it.
Okay, just cool.
Then I introduced my wife to a movie from the 80s called The Flight of the Navigator. I thought she would watch 20 minutes of it and walk away. She ended up watching the whole thing. And I was very careful because it's one of my favorite movies and I didn't want her to pick on me. And she didn't. She loved the entire thing. So yay to that.
Great film.
Then we watched a couple Chinese movies, 2 spy thrillers. We watched Yimou's Cliff Walkers, which is the second time I've seen that now. And the second time I viewed it, it's still not that great. The last third is still a bit shitty. So, but then my wife recommended we watch The Message from 2009, and that was fantastic. So I recommend that over Cliff Walkers. Then back to Japan, I watched Stigmatized Properties, which was bad. Very bad.
I saw the review. You were in that,
Yeah. And then last night, after the footy had finished, boom.
Oh, you watched it last night?
Yep. I had to find my stupid Region A Blu-ray player because it's a region locked disc, and then watched it. And I've got a lot of great things to say about it. That is as wild as I remember the first time.
I am happy I saw it. I'm happy that it was put on the list. I didn't put it on the list myself.
No, I did that one. That was my choice.
So, I mean, one of our talented producers backstage put it on the list. Do we have it? But
not yet.
I'm very happy about it. But we will discuss that in a second.
Beautiful. Now, would you like to do our first sponsor read for tonight?
Yes, it's time for our first sponsor. Let's see who is crazy enough to sponsor us this week. All right, so if you would roll the footage. Wait a minute. If you roll the footage, it's without sound because with the intro, my mic was muted.
Yes, I have. I have made sure I've muted it. So let's roll.
All right.
And no, wait, I've got the wrong trailer on. Hold on.
No.
It's this one. It's this one.
We didn't make that one. Maybe it's good though. Oh. Available now in the USA, CultureSHOCK Japan presents a Tokyo Bay Films production of a film by Hirohito Takimoto and Kenta Osaka, Tokyo Homestay Massacre. 3 American late teens travel to Japan to escape a sad past and have some fun, but end up trapped in a house with a demented Japanese host family who plans to offer them to their gods in a sick, ancient Japanese ritual. Tokyo Homestay Massacre is an intense horror experience with explosive Japanese energy while flirting with dark comedy. Watch it for free on Tubi TV, rent it in full HD on Amazon Prime Video, or own it on Blu-ray available at Amazon.com and Walmart.com. You're not in Texas anymore. Welcome to Japan. Tokyo Homestay Massacre. If you want to watch it on Tubi, because it is, of course, available in the USA, we gave you the advice last time to live in the US. So move to the US, but then Dan thought that was a little bit drastic, maybe a little bit
COVID
extreme.
time. Yes.
So maybe we can get a VPN. So if you get a VPN, you can watch it for free on Tubi in the USA. If you want to own it, you don't have to wait for a European release because the Blu-ray on Amazon is internationally available and is region free. So it would play on any player. All right, that was it for our sponsor this week. CultureSHOCK Japan presents Tokyo Homestay Massacre. Boom! Look at that. Crazy.
I just love the line. I hate such bitch. So my favorite lines. Who is a vegetarian in Japan? It just doesn't work.
Yeah,
anyway,
why?
Can we finish off the trailer? It's only got a couple seconds. There we go.
I'm thinking actually you should be able to switch it with audio, that the audio just kicks in after I'm done so you can see all the madness, because I was done right at the moment the madness started. Damn it,
I should have been quicker onto that. I've got to get onto pressing the buttons quicker on this.
All right, well, that's fine. I mean, anyway, so that was for our first sponsor.
Loved it. Now, you've got, before we head into tonight's discussion, which we'll do in about 15-20 minutes, you told us last week that there was a very special email from a very special person.
True. And because we're doing... sorry.
No, I'm just going to say, now we're going to go over it. So the floor is yours, my friend.
Well, what I have to say won't take too long, but it's very relevant to Tokyo Gore Police because it is an email contact I had with the director, Yoshihiro Nishimura. I, in 2012, went to Japan to do some research in order to make movies myself. And I had some questions for him, and he answered them. At least he had his his assistant that translated the answers. So the English is a little hokey, a little shoddy, but it's okay. We still know what he means. We still know what he's trying to say. And let's just say at the end, it is the only advice I took from Japan. So last week I said that I didn't listen to learn the language, that I didn't listen to stay in Holland, but that I just went to make movies in Japan. So I guess the only person I ever listened to was Nishimura-san.
Beautiful. And just before we show the email, I just want to remind anyone who's watching, you're more than welcome to leave a comment in the chat box, and we will get to it towards the end of the episode. So if you have any questions for either myself or Wilco, please just feel free to ask them in the chat box and we'll get to it. Conversely, there's a super chat option available. So if you feel free that you think we deserve a tip, we definitely won't say no to that. Any money that we do collect from the making of this show will be sent towards the future movie that Wilco and I will be making together. So obviously the more money we collect in tips and advertising revenue, the more budget we will have for our movie that we make. So
what we start with, of course, is to get that logo in the corner. out of
Yeah,
there.
we'll get rid of that logo.
Yeah, that's the first thing that needs
Yeah.
to be removed.
But still, more super chats, the more budget. So anyway, let's. I'll bring up the email, and you can start talking about it.
Yeah. So, like I said, this was my email contact. It's translated by his assistant, Nanae. I don't know if it's readable at home. Oh, there we go. Yeah. So basically, dear Wilco, I'm so sorry for my late reply. Well, you know what? The fact that I even got an answer is already amazing. So I am not going to fault him for that. But basically, I had a whole intro because I always, like, I speak too much, also write too much. So I had a whole intro, and then I said, now for the questions. I really
do you want me to read your bit? Do you want me to read your bit and you read his bit?
I don't. Yes, I do.
Yeah. So I'll read your purple bit and then you can read his answer. Is that what you want me to do?
Oh, you're going to read it. Yeah. All right. That's good.
All right.
But I can make fun of you then, right?
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
But yeah. Okay. All right. You go.
Now for the questions. I've really enjoyed your movies, and not until recently did I learn that you make movies for us, the Western audience. So in that regard, it works. We love it. But I do think it's weird that the domestic audience do not really like it. So I've been told. The Japanese audiences like manga and anime, but not live-action horror and weirdness. Now I have spent a few weeks in Japan, and I have trouble finding your movies in a store. I can find Japanese live-action porn, hentai, American horror, and exploitation films everywhere, but your movies are nowhere to be found. Why is that? What is the difference?
And that is a true experience I had because I was looking. Well, and then my response was, it seems that Japanese feel hesitated to enjoy horror, gore, and splatter movie. Of course, we love those kind of films, but it don't appeal that. I'd like Japanese people to appeal their feeling more honestly, though. On the other hand, Western people can appeal their feeling honestly. That's difference. No matter Japanese or Western, there's a lot of people who love those kind of films, but it's different how to appeal their feeling. So basically, he's saying that the Japanese are hiding their feeling for liking this type of film. They're suppressing it, and which is true because last time I talked about an experience I had with a Japanese woman who I showed a Shinya Tsukamoto film, who I introduced Shinya Tsukamoto film, and she never heard of these type of films. She didn't even know if these type of films were even made. But what I also know that another girl this is a roommate of mine, she was Japanese. And then when we talked about like tentacle hentai or hentai movies, she basically, no. We didn't talk about it. We didn't talk about it as in, hey, did you see? No, it was more like when we asked her about those type of films, because for us, that's kind of, we know that about Japan. She kind of ignored it. And how do you call it? Not the opposite of admit it. Like
she denied it.
She denied it. She denied that type of stuff even existed.
Oh.
So I think that's what he is talking about here. The fact that the Japanese don't want to appeal. They don't want to say that they like this kind of things. And that's why you cannot find it, which is a little weird because, you should be able to find it at least, right? But later we get to the core.
The core
of why these films are not really found, his films are in Japan, because Japan does have those type of films, but they're very targeted towards the local market, and you can find them in certain corners of the DVD store. But his films, not so much. And I guess that is something to do with the next question.
Next question. What made you start making movies for the Western market and not the domestic market?
And then his response was, my first film, Tokyo Gore Police, and he talks from the perspective of the films for the West, I believe, because obviously he made many more before that. Meatball Machine, the most notable of them.
Oh, what a film that was.
Oh, yes. I think that one is probably the one that led to the making of Tokyo Gore Police. But he says are produced by Media Blasters. He means Media Blasters. Media Blasters, which is a U.S. company, and Tokyo Gore Police was sold well. So what he's saying here is the fact that, as far as I know, the story is that on the Yubari Film Festival, the same festival that our movie was selected in last year, he met this guy called John. He is he's the CEO, or at least he is part of that company, Media Blasters, and then he basically commissioned the film to be made. I do not know too many details, but they met on a festival, and that's why they decided to make movies, and Media Blasters was going to fund them all. So it was a Western initiative for Tokyo Gore Police to even exist. And it was for a label called TOKYO TOKYO has 4 titles, only 4 titles, because they have a company called Fever Dreams. You will probably see Fever Dreams on the
I do.
DVD.
Yep.
Because TOKYO had 4 films: Death Trance, the one with Tuck, The Machine Girl, Tokyo Gore Police, and Death Kappa, which came out 2 years after Tokyo Gore Police. Those were the only 4 titles on TOKYO, that label. And after that, Sushi Typhoon miraculously popped up. So we can only guess if Sushi Typhoon, if Nikatsu bought up, a Fever Dream.
Yeah.
Or if they made deals with Nishimura, too hard to say no to. We can only guess what happened there. But Nikatsu, a very big company, kind of took over the realm of making these type of films for the Western market with their label, Sushi Typhoon. And then TOKYO themselves, so the guy John from Media Blasters, he only did 4 of them. By the way,
Tak's in this movie too, actually.
What? Excuse me?
Tak is in Tokyo Gore Police.
Yeah, true. In the opening scene, he is the
opening scene. Yeah. Now we just before you answer the next question, I have a special request that's come in on the comments that wants you to kind of visualize how Nishimura would have answered the question and see maybe if you can act a bit more Nishimura when you're providing the answers.
Act more Nishimura.
Yeah. So how, as I am acting as Wilco, you will need to act a bit Nishimura-like.
I wanted to ask if I had to read it straight, which I've been doing. Or if I had to do it in a racist stereotype.
No, don't do that. Definitely don't do that.
So my first film.
Let's go to the next question.
Well, actually, before we go to the next question, I do want to say with the appeal about the question before that, because he said that the Japanese people don't really appeal to they don't want to admit that they like these type of films. I can even tell you, and this is from I did a little research on the side, is that when Tokyo Gore Police was shown in Japan, and sometimes these type of films do get shown in small theaters, small independent theaters, it was rated R20.
Whoa.
It was so gory that they even had to make up a new rating higher than R18 in order to have that film in the local little theater. Is that this?
Wow.
So do you see that they even went R20 for this movie?
Shit. Have they ever used R20 since, or has that just been a one-off for
Not
this?
that I know. I never heard of R20 before. So the fact that they made an R20 just for Tokyo Gore Police, I mean, our movie was labeled R18, and it's not even that gory if you compare it.
True.
So not gory at all, even if you compare it. And then they made it an R20. So that just shows that, one, that the Japanese really don't really, are open to that kind of stuff, or at least try to, hide it and censor it as much as they can, or, and on the other hand, also, damn.
Well,
R20.
I can't believe it's actually got an 18 rating here in Australia. I actually thought it would be banned. So that's,
really?
I'm very shocked it had an 18 rating. Anyway, well, following on, you start this next question off with an ellipsis for some odd reason. And then you said, and why are they mainly low budget movies?
Okay, let me explain that before I answer. All those bullet points, those dashes, let's say, are like a little list under each other. And he basically took my email and just put his answers in it.
Nice.
So that was more like a list, let's say, of questions.
Yep.
Yes, but he says, it can't be helped. We need more money, though. Basically, he says that, well, we have no other choice, because if we don't do it with if we don't do it with the money we have, we can't make them at all. So the idea is that they don't have a lot of money. But I do know that for Tokyo Gore Police, he got one of the biggest budgets at that time that he ever worked with. And you can kind of see that, but we will come to that point when we discuss the movie.
Beautiful. So some feedback for you so far. The audience appreciates your acting.
Oh,
so keep it up, my friend. Keep it up.
Okay.
Next question. Where did you get the funding for your movies?
Depending. Oh, well, he says depend on But we pitched our project to distribution company, sales company, advertising company, and so on. I will have to myself give a little extra answer here, because what he's saying is, and that's what I didn't know that back in the day, but I learned that being here, is that the committee style, Japan uses a committee style to make their films. So in the West, if we make a low budget movie, we would go to a rich dentist and try to get money from that guy, or go to a production house and they will take care of all the production cost. But in Japan, you basically go to every stakeholder one by one. So you have the guy who sells DVDs. You say, hey, I want to make this movie. Do you want to sell the DVDs? And he just buys the exclusivity to sell the DVDs and gives you a little money for that. And then you go to the theater, and the theater will pay you a little money. So and then you to the casting agent, and the casting agent says, I want this person to be in your movie, and I will give you a little money. So those kind of financing happens by having a committee.
Wow.
Where every little stakeholder that actually is part of the vision of the film or has some way of benefiting from the film all put a little money in together. And that's how it works in Japan. And that's what he means. That's what he's saying. That's why he talks about distribution companies and sales companies.
Now, this is a very Wilco question. I could just imagine you asking this. And obviously you did ask it. How do you film most of the time? Is it all legal with permits, or do you bit of guerrilla filmmaking?
Well, I think that's a normal question, because we in the West, when we have no money, we do everything guerrilla. We steal it, guerrilla,
Yes.
you know. And of course, he's like, I cannot answer this question. He's like, no, we have all the permits, of course. I mean, if we make a film, we have to get the permits, of course. Like, of course. No, but what I'm trying to say is that we normally wouldn't. We would just do run and gun. I mean, come on, even Sofia Coppola went to, when she filmed Lost in Translation, she even stole the shot on the big crossing on Shibuya by hiding the camera in the Starbucks above. She didn't pay for a permit. That's the Western way. And
they don't like us over there.
Yeah, we are very disrespectful in that way. That's true. But anyway, he has all the permits. But in the next question, I can also answer why permits are not a bad thing in Japan.
Okay, well, do you use a lot of studio sets? Are they expensive to make? Because Japan can be costly.
Yes, well, that's a genuine question I had. And he says, again, depends on location set also costed. So what he's trying to say is that, well, yes. And if I unpack it, it's like we shot our last film on set location, and that was like $800 a day. So what he means is, even if you go on set, which is already built, and we don't build it, it is still pricey. And he's right. It is pricey to have ready-made sets. On the other hand, permits are really, really cheap. You can get a permit for $10 to $20 to shoot on the street, as long as you go through the bureaucratic process of trying to convince the police agent that you will not cause any trouble or be bothersome for anyone with you. You have to draw like a map of where people are going to be and how long you're going to shoot and what you're going to shoot. But then the permit itself is quite cheap if you can get them, if you can get them done. Because sometimes they just get refused or rejected based on which location you want to shoot, or simply that your plan's not good enough. But in general, they're really cheap. So actually, a tip would be, if you go to Japan and you want to do it legit, try to do everything on the street, and then you have the cheapest set, basically.
I can imagine doing a death scene on the street. That would be great.
Yeah, well,
at least the reactions would be real.
I'm pretty sure they won't approve to that, though, if you're going to spray blood around everywhere. But I don't know. Who knows, right? But point being is that, but there's also a lot of places where you cannot get a permit at all. For instance, in heavy
traffic areas, I guess.
In busy locations, and most Tokyo are difficult to get a permit for. And I guess that's why Sofia Coppola with Lost in Translation stole the shot, because he probably couldn't get the permit for that location, because it's just impossible to close it off, let's say.
Oh.
All right. Next question.
Next question means next
slide.
I think. Oh, this is my favorite question, and I get to ask it. Great.
I don't know. I haven't read all these since 2012, so I'm gonna be as surprised as you are.
Just let me clear my throat and do my best Wilco now.
Yeah.
I see you work with a lot of AV stars in your movies. That is fine. Of course, it's fine. And I have no problem with that. Of course you don't.
If I
But
said
where
that it's
does the
awesome, it was
choice-
a little bit too on the nose, right? That is awesome. Can I come? You know, it's like a little too. Oh, sorry.
But where does the choice come from to use this talent? I heard they do good work and will get naked. But also that they have difficult timetables, schedules to work with. I'm impressed by the girls that star in your and Norboro's movies. Of course you are. So I want to gather the same talent for my future projects. Of course you do. Where could I start to find them? Here we go, pickup line. For example, where did you get the talent who played the Mutant Girl Squad? By the way, I love the way you throw this in to try and make yourself sound legit. By the way, is TAC expensive to hire?
Well, I guess I wanted to work with him. Well, it is true. I don't see anything problematic in here. I mean, but like I said before, I correctly was told to shut up. Is that it is fine, and I couldn't say it's awesome, and maybe that is fine sounds more like, I am not gonna blame you for that. I'm not gonna fault you for that.
I just like the way he doesn't want to tell you any of his contacts. Like, these girls are mine. Get your hands off.
No, actually, to be honest, as creepy as my question is, his answer is really on the nose, and it's true, because being here in Japan, it is true how he answers. And I will just answer my normal voice because the acting, in my opinion, is still a racist stereotype. So that depends on actress. Some are free, some are busy. So it doesn't mean free, no money, but free as in have no schedule.
I know, no schedule.
Almost are just my friends. Sometimes we held an audition. But mostly they're his friends. And that's true, because in Japan, it's all about who you know and who wants to work with you. That's all.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of favoritism and friendships, let's say, where it's based on. So basically, in that way, you can see that all the people he worked with, especially Asami, like Noboru and Asami, are just the best friends. And Nishimura is just best friends with all his actresses. He's best friend with the lead of Tokyo Gore Police because he's been in every of his movies since.
Oh.
And but he continues, main character of Mutant Girl Squad are popular idols, not AV actress. Well, that's my mistake. But some others are from AV industry. They are just friend. You should make a lot of friends. Well, that's a good... And that is 100% true, and he's 100% right. It's all friend business. And in order to make things in Japan, you have to... He's 100% right. Make friends so you can work with friends of friends, and that's just the whole ballpark right there. But like cold calls, they don't like it when you just try to work with them because they will always try to turn it in their own favor, and then your how do you call that? It's very hard to convince them of your good motives. Let's say your good intentions.
Yeah,
and they will always, especially with me with a Western face, they will see different opportunities that I'm trying to offer them. So the friends thing is very, very important. And but also technically you could hire Nishimura and then you will get his friends as well. So that's like a loophole you could have right there.
So the good thing is you made some friends, and hopefully we get to meet some of these friends in future episodes.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
Although some of the friends still come from cold calling because I'm a Westerner, I cannot help it. So, but anyway, yeah, that's a very good answer. And then by the way, is TOK expensive to hire? The reason why I like TOK so much is because back in the day, and I kind of forgot about that, is that TOK is now a director and he have this long take fetish, even to the point that he had one movie that is literally one take. So I guess he did what he wanted to do. So now he's retiring, by the way, as an actor. He's thinking about retiring because he did what he wanted to do. One long take. So he's done. And he also found God or something. But anyway, while doing that, now it seems... A funny fact, just a side thing, TOK in the first 10 minutes, and then he still had to do the rest of the film. So while he went through the rest of the film, so much things went through his head, and he had so much enlightenment and epiphanies. At the end of the movie, he kind of was like, yeah, I'm done. I did everything I could. He's probably going to still do action and directing, but he's probably not going to act as much anymore. But anyway, the Mutant Girl Squad, yes, those are all idols, and I was very mistaken. But with Mutant Girl Squad, I kind of went back to Machine Girl because I learned that all the leads from the Machine Girl are porn stars, are AV actresses, both of them. Asami, and of course also the lead. They're all AV stars, and that's why I thought about that with the Mutant Girl Squad. But anyway, next question.
Next question. In the end, I want to make Japanese low-budget movies because I believe my way of storytelling belongs in Japan and should be made with Japanese talent. What do you think I should do? Should I move to Japan and start my company here, or keep my company abroad in Holland and only make the movies here and only stay in Japan on a project-to-project basis? The last question I have is a simple one. Is there any advice you can give me?
Yes. So that's actually 16,000 questions in one. But
and I love his answer is one sentence.
Yeah, and that sentence is perfect. It's like, make a film, that's all. That's it. Make a film. Whether you live in Japan or not, if you make a good film, you could work as you want. And what he means by that is that if you just show your talent, people are going to let you work how you want to work. So
good advice.
And that's great. That's a great advice right there. And but that was, you can see I was researching. I was asking my way around in Japan. I wanted to know how to do things. I want to start my company, but because I got the advice to stay home in Holland, I wanted to know his opinion on that. So yeah, this was, I just forgot about when I was talking about Tuck. I wanted to say why I like Tuck, and then I didn't say it and told a different story. But the thing is, my favorite director before I found Nishimura and Noboru-san was Kitamura, the Ryuei Kitamura from Versus and films like that. Tuck was the main star in most of Kitamura's films before he went to Hollywood. And then when Kitamura went to Hollywood, that's when Tuck, started hanging out with Noboru and Nishimura and became a director and got his fetish for the long takes. But yeah, that was basically my my email conversation. And then when I thanked Nanai for translating, and I said, I hope maybe we can work together someday. Last little email that cemented the last advice that Nishimura told me. And I would like to read that one. And it says, "Dear Wilco, I'm sorry for my late reply. I guess this person always replies late, but still, I don't mind because I'm very helpful. I'm very happy for for her being helpful, or him, probably her. He made a lot of films by himself for long years and never gives up to pitch a lot of company. So he wants you to keep making films and talking to a lot of producers. Hope we could work together in the future. Thanks, Nanai."
That's awesome.
So the main core thing is make a film, keep making films, and keep talking to producers. And of all the things that I didn't follow in my research, the learn language, stay in Holland, that's the only advice that I followed. So basically, CultureSHOCK Japan could not have existed if I didn't follow the advice of Yoshihiro Nishimura-san.
We owe Nishimura-san a lot, and I'm looking forward to the day that you and him do get to work together, depending on whatever status that is. I think you know what you want to do, and we know what he can do. So, that would be great. That'd be great. And a great story for the show, too.
Extremely busy.
I'm sure if you've got a great project for him, he'll jump in and give you a hand. Anyway,
he's not too shabby. How you call that? He's not too. He's okay to do just the effects. So he's not that stuck up. Let's say that he has to direct or has to write. He is okay to do just special effects in other people's movies. However, of course, there are friends of his, and I'm not in the friend group yet. So I don't think we'll be working.
Email friends. That's a start.
Yeah, 2012. I should show him. See, we're friends. Now work.
Now, speaking of friends, sponsor number 2.
Oh, these are our other friends, the Asian film fans friends. As you can see, I see, and you have a little Asian film fans logo right there.
Yeah.
So so if you're ready to show some footage, then I will go over the text.
Mute it. No,
again, the wrong trailer.
No, this is the right trailer.
Oh, okay. You don't want to show the whole trailer? You just
Oh
want me to
God,
talk
no!
a little
I've
bit?
seen it too many times.
All right.
No.
Well, Asian film fans, do you want to explore Asian films but don't know where to start? Like this film you're seeing right now on the screen. Do you want to know what it is? Asian Film Fans is your companion into the world of Asian cinema. What started out as an internet movie database for Asian films expanded into an Asian film magazine with articles like Top 10 Unmade Godzilla Films, 5 Must-Watch Asian Coming-of-Age Movies, A Beginner's Guide to Asian Cinema, one I recommend, and 5 great Asian remakes of Hollywood films, and many, many, many more. It does not stop there. Follow them on YouTube/Asian Film Fans for Asian movie reviews, behind the scenes, and a weekly Asian box office update video covering Korea, China, and Japan. Plus, watch a full feature-length movie for free. The Asian Film Fans original, King's Feast. Can I say that? Can I say it's an Asian Film Fans original?
Hey, you know what? Once you get distribution rights, it's yours. Just ask Netflix. That's what they're doing with
All right, but
Dynasty Warriors. That's
for
ours.
now, still the Asian Film Fans original, King's Feast.
Yeah.
And it's playing right now, and you can watch it for free on their YouTube channel. Expand your horizon and explore Eastern cinema with Asian Film Fans, asianfilmfans.com and youtube.com/asianfilmfans.
So the movie is currently playing on the Arty Dans channel. Very soon, it will leave the Arty Dans channel and head over to the Asian Film Fans
Wait a
YouTube
minute, I
channel.
thought it was on Asian Film Fans for a while.
Not yet. Not yet. It's on
Not
the Arty
yet?
Dans one, but it will be heading to Asian Film Fans very shortly.
And the sponsor lied to us.
Yes. Wouldn't be the first time they have lied.
Oh, shit. Okay, so it's not on Asian Film Fans. It's on this very same
on this
channel.
very channel. Yeah.
This very channel.
I'll tell you a short story about this trailer. Very short story.
please.
That we were provided the trailer, and it was actually a lot longer than that. And I looked at this and thought, oh my God, it's 3 minutes. I can't use this. So I cut it right down, and then I added the actor names. Not that it made any difference because no one knows who the actors are, but I didn't like the music. So I had to go ahead and get a piece of music to put over the background.
Okay.
And add some subtitles to it. So this trailer is actually, I refer to it as the international trailer because in China, it's got a completely different trailer. And I think the director has seen it and actually liked it, which was quite nice to hear that the director liked the trailer. Anyway, we actually signed a 10-year deal for this movie. I know it's not the greatest movie, but it's still a lot of fun.
10-year deal?
We've got 10 years, so we've got 9 years left to run on the movie. So it's going to head over to the Asian Film Fans YouTube channel very shortly. I believe our friends at Smart Cinema are also going to onboard the film in part of their free cinema package as well.
Right.
It's also on Amazon. Eventually, we'll get on Tubi if we can find someone willing to help us put it on there. And there's another YouTube channel that we've been looking at that deals exclusively with Chinese movies. So they want an exclusive on the film, and I'm not quite ready to give them the exclusive yet. So I want to make a bit more money on the Asian Film Fans channel before I head it over to another channel. So I do believe I've been pressuring my guys in China to get us more movies. So hopefully we can talk about a different movie within the next few months. But that's the first one.
Hope to do the same thing on our side too. Plug another movie. Yeah.
Well, you actually physically do have you've just finished and about ready to deliver a second movie to your distributor. So we will be having another movie to talk about shortly, and I actually look forward to that. But
talking about movies.
Yeah, we're going to talk about this.
Yes, Tokyo Gore Police.
Yeah.
Woo-hoo. I missed the applause. We should have an applause like.
Oh, I need a button for that. Yeah. Maybe the chat can give us an applause.
Like, yay!
Yay! That was when I watched it last night. Yes. I honestly did not remember when I first watched the film a few years ago. I felt like I was watching it again, brand new. It's insane. It really is insane.
I agree.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is that this just what you said is exactly my experience. I haven't watched it probably since 2008, 2009. So it's been more than 10 years ago that I watched this film. In the meantime, of course, I fell in love with all the other movies that they made. You know, the Hell Driver, For me, it started with Machine Girl, but of course, the accumulation, the Mutant Girl Squad with all 3 directors in it, and then all the directors lose films. So it was Yakuza Weapon, the whole Sushi Typhoon label. I mean, I just went on that, ride, let's say. And although Tokyo Gore Police was always in my head, I'm happy I saw it because it is so more. Well, it reminded me why I love this shit. It reminded me that the movies later changed, and this movie is actually more gruesome than I remembered it to be.
Would you say this movie started the whole gore craze, or maybe not started it? Would you say it made it popular?
Well, I am pretty sure that it was Tokyo Gore Police that made this type of movie popular in the West, or at least it brought it under attention because it was just so crazy. It was almost too hard to ignore. It came out the same time as Machine Girl a little earlier. But I do think that Machine Girl had the goofy gore straight from the start, with the CGI gore, with the composite gore, let's say, with all the weird things turning and twisting and the skulls stacking up and stuff like that. Also Vampire Girl and Frankenstein versus Frankenstein Girl has. I do think that Nishimura-san at one point went more into the goofy gore, more creative kill gore, CGI gore kind of corner. Of course, still keeping his blood fountains and the practical creature makeup. But he went less gruesome. So like, because I like movies like the straight to video, the shot on video films like Violent Shit, and then stuff like August Underground. I felt that Tokyo Gore Police was more, the gore was more in that type of gruesomeness. And I forgot about that completely. So I'm very happy that I saw it. And at that point, I'm even thinking that it is maybe the better ones of all of them. But because they changed and I went with them, I kind of forgot about why I love that film so much when it came out to start with.
I think the gore's maybe a little bit over the top, and that's what makes it maybe a little bit easier to approach. It's not an American torture gore film.
No.
This is definitely when you've got a shot of our main actress looking in the screen and the frame just slowly builds up with blood. There's not too much that you take serious in that bit. It approaches it in a very comical manner. Well, I love the setting. All I could think of was watches the setting. It reminded me of Starship Troopers meets Judge Dredd. In a post-apocalyptic that's not apocalyptic world. It actually wasn't, but it felt like it. That had a fascist police state running the city, and it had a couple of insurgents inside willing to break it down. Now, I don't know whether Nishimura had planned it to be so political, but it has such a strong undertone of fighting a police state and about individualism.
And the normalization of violence while being a very violent movie. Because all the commercials are about, cutting yourself, sharp swords, and things you can use to kill.
Suicide,
and which is a theme in all Nishimura's movies, by the way. If you look at all of them, the cutting is in every film. But yeah, those things like the violence is being glorified while being criticized at the same time with the narration, let's say, because yes, it is a police state who takes the violence too far. And that's why, the lead has to change her mind and fight the state. The thing is with the practical gore, like what I'm trying to say with the gruesomeness, although you say it's not like American torture porn, it's close though, with scenes like where with the cutting machine that slowly goes on the fingers, and then when it goes on the fingers, you see the flesh being cut off, and then slowly these fingers. And I know it's a prosthetic hand, but it's not just you cut the fingers off, but you see the skin peel off while the blade goes down, and that's the gruesomeness that I forgot. And which later Nishimura-san kind of doesn't do anymore. It's more body parts and blood fountains and more funny jokey gags, let's say. I guess
There's no humor in this film,
and let's say.
Yeah, there's definitely no humor. If there's any humor, it's purely unintentional.
I think I think that's what I'm trying to say. You're 100% right. Later, he incorporates more humor, and I guess that's also why my CEO says he cannot really watch this movie because he thinks they're kind of tongue-in-cheek or too much tongue-in-cheek. And Tokyo Gore Police is still grounded, and that's why maybe some of the stuff just comes across as more grotesque, and it has more humorless kills in them.
Yeah. Speaking of grotesque, I might. Hopefully, it's safe to show this, but this is something that you asked me to prepare earlier. Was Crocodile Girl?
Yes.
And that zoom in a bit. Unfortunately, that's as much as like. Oh, there we go. Yeah. That was a hell of a thing to see on screen, and I think and this character. Is it a midget?
Well, it is. That's the thing. When I was walking on the ground, I had to look twice to see how they did it. But I think that's a puppet. And what we're looking at now is in composite. So it's just a normal human on stilts, but they removed everything with VFX.
Okay,
but the
cool.
reason why I wanted you to, for these pictures, if you can go back to the bloody one.
The bloody one? Yep.
Yeah, this one. This, in my opinion, is where we come down to the iconic Nishimura-san's cinematic experience, let's say, because this is really the exaggerated blood fountain display in its full glory. Especially, you have like a lead that is very, very calm, even uses her umbrella not to get wet with all the blood. And while the guy in the background is just there without arms, spraying immense, unrealistic amounts of blood. And when I saw this the first time, I thought this was quite artistic. I thought it
is a bit artistic, yeah.
This shot alone, I think, is a quite piece, let's say. And this is what I try to say with I think that Nishimura can sometimes have a little of an artsy direction. With that, I wanted to go into a little bit of a slight detour, but it is Nishimura related. Is that I also send you a video of a Vampire Girl versus Frankenstein Girl, because I must say that Nishimura does use the same trick more than once.
Yeah, so we'll just play it in the background.
Yeah, so this is very similar to that scene in Tokyo Gore Police. It's just that it has a very catchy tune, and it is incorporated with a dance. And then I don't know if you can play the audio for this. But I also wanted to say this because we're talking about Nishimura. This is my favorite scene of all his films.
This is towards the start, isn't it, of this film?
And in my opinion, I hope the movie was just going to be all of this. But it became actually different, and they went into the wacky creature direction. But this scene for me is my favorite scene. Especially, but the best is if you hear the music under it, because the music is an up-tempo puppy song, or she is just biting in there, and now she is enjoying the blood because he's a vampire. The most beautiful shot, you see the blood out of the neck, but also look at the two sprays on the side. You have on the side two guys who are spraying extra blood.
over here at the top of the screen.
And also exactly. They're extra blood on the side. And then with this puppy tune, and then her just there dancing in the blood, enjoying it, laughing, with all this composition. It's slightly artsy, and it is just my favorite scene of all his movies. It's just my favorite, my personal favorite. And I hope that the movie was going to be all more of this, but it went into the crazy creature route.
It definitely a Vampire Girl versus Frankenstein Girl is probably a discussion for another episode. It definitely took a strange turn.
But because it's not on the list for a long time, I just wanted to have this as a Nishimura special. Let's say that this is the guy we're talking about. This is what he produces. This is his vision. Let's say. I must say this movie is directed with a co-director, so maybe the co-director had a hand in the dancing. Maybe. But point being is that yes, this is what I think is iconic Nishimura. And then in Mutant Girl Squad, he used this idea, and and in his segment, you had the dancing on the car. While the girls are rumba dancing on the car, the one girl, the rumba dancing on the car. Well, in the background, the others are just hacking up people, and body parts are flying and blood. Even Tuck goes crazy in his creature outfit and starts slashing people with his big, sword hands. So yeah, that is like the iconic evolution of Nishimura. First, you have this very, very artsy shot, and then we went to dancing, and from dancing we go to more and more funny, tongue-in-cheek, body part oriented films or effects, because I really talk about the effects.
For context, this scene that we're looking at here, it's quite interesting because this is her punishing a molester on the train.
Sure, this is just a guy who touched her on the train. Yeah,
and she just shows him no mercy, where she just says molesting is illegal, and then chop, and boom. You know what? Watching this movie reminded me of something that my dad once said to me. He was watching me play the Mortal Kombat game, the very first one. And, every time you punch someone, there's this blood going everywhere. And he turned to me and he said, "How much blood do these people have?" And all I could think of when watching the movie last night was this exact same quote from my dad. How much blood some of these people have. And then it doesn't make sense because there's the character, the engineer, that drains all the blood out of everyone. And it's only 12 small vials and they don't even filled. So come on, Nishimura, where is all the blood going?
Well, he saved them all for here, of course. I mean,
it is those people that died with bloodless.
Actually, this context of this scene is very modern feminism, if you think about it, because it's her cover standing in a train. By the way, linking and bridging us to the most disgusting scene in the entire movie that I really hate, and is the eating the worms.
Oh yeah, the dude. Oh yeah,
the dude that obviously, like you see him grind these these living worms between his teeth.
Yeah,
that was, to me, is like, that's you know what, I love the gore, I love the gruesomeness, and I see all these people being slashed apart, and I'm like, oh, this is great, artsy even. And then all of a sudden it's a close-up of a guy eating worms, and I'm like, ugh, that's horrible, that's disgusting, I'm getting out of the room.
Well, it goes with the rest of the shock factor of the movie. There's even the bit in the S&M club where one of the models starts urinating on everyone. I'm pretty sure. I don't think I remember that.
Talking?
Sorry?
Are you talking about the pissing chair?
Yeah, the pissing chair. Yeah. So shock value is definitely all over this film.
Well, that's what I'm thinking about. That's that creature wacky gore stuff. That's the the cutter arm girl. The girl has the arm with the box cutter, like a huge box cutter on her arm. This is where we're talking about the Crocodile Girl, which you just showed the GIF from.
Yeah. Brain gun.
Yeah,
brain gun.
The big penis gun. That guy.
Him.
I mean, you get his dick cut off. The dick cut off is the gruesome part.
Oh, that's
engineer, and then it becomes all of a sudden, this creature feature again, that he has this humongous, fleshy, penis cannon, this phallic cannon, and then he starts, blasting everybody in the police force.
Now, is it stupid of me to think this? But the guy that had the brain guns, he keeps shooting ammunition out, and all I could think of was, mate, you're eventually going to run out of ammo, and I don't know where that ammo is coming from. Assuming he's shooting out parts of his brain.
Well, maybe he's losing his mind.
Yeah. Let's talk about the lead actress. And her eyes are stunning, and there is a massive emphasis throughout the whole film on close-ups of her eyes, and a lot of the movie gets told through her expression in her eyes. But, and this is a personal thing to me, I don't feel she looks Japanese.
Well, this is what confused me at one point, because one of the guys in the subtitle says, be careful of the Chinese, or don't get tricked by the Chinese, and I'm like, huh? She's supposed to be Chinese? And then I looked online in the wiki, but it just says nothing that she's Chinese. She looks Chinese. But at that moment, when I saw the word Chinese, I looked at her. I'm like, wait a minute. But I looked it up, and on the wiki, and I must say, I checked the English wiki, not the Japanese wiki. So maybe somebody in the chat can check the Japanese wiki if they speak Japanese. But I couldn't find in the English one that any reference to her being Chinese.
Yeah, but definitely her eyes did not look Japanese to me. It gave off a very, very.
Well, even this picture that you're showing right now, she looks Chinese.
Well, it's true, and possibly it's got something to do with the top that she's wearing. But the whole and this is another thing that I found with Vampire Girl versus Frankenstein Girl too. And I don't know if this is a Nishimura thing or just the actresses that he picks, but I always feel that the actresses are bored. And I know this is not the case, but they just don't look like they're acting too much.
Okay.
There are many scenes where Ruka, who the character's name is shown on the screen, and she's just expressionless. And I don't know whether that's because of this job that she has that is forcing her to kind of have no connection to people. But I waited so long to see her smile. And I think the first scene of her smiling is when she's remembering her father about to be killed, and she's dressed up as a schoolgirl and she's waving and smiling at him. And that's a long way into the film. There's just very little expression from this actress. And she's been in some pretty interesting films.
Well, Audition was her first one. She was in that movie under a different name. So at that point, she didn't market herself yet.
How do you say her name anyway?
I don't know.
Aihishina?
Yeah, like that.
Yeah.
I'm not even gonna try. But yeah, you can just call her Shina-chan, and then that will be good. No, people will know. But yeah, but the thing is, her name, the first name, also sounds like it's not from Japanese. That it's more like a made name that is maybe based on what should be a Chinese name. So technically, we're going to find hints that maybe she is originally from Chinese or from China. So that's possible. For the story, it doesn't really make a difference. I think for her as an actress, nobody is they're hiding it. Let's say if it is true, nobody's giving it any attention, and they're not using it for any street cred or whatever. And they also never really put her in a role that requires her to be Chinese. So maybe it's just that she looks that way, and we're just referencing something that isn't true. And in the chat, I just see that she's fully Japanese,
and she's 45 years old. I can't believe that.
I used to be a model. But of course, in this movie, she was 35. But now she's 45, and she's fully Japanese. And like I said, I also couldn't find any link to anything Chinese. But I know from our viewer here that she is able to read Japanese, so she probably checked the Japanese wiki. And
nice.
Even if she would be, it's all hidden. It's not in the open. But she does look.
I'm not saying it's a bad thing.
No, it's the thing that she looks Chinese, right? That's the whole. And then we just maybe think, hey, could be, and it's just media says no, internet says no. So I don't know if it's true or not. What I do also wanted to address was the fleshy key.
Yeah,
that fleshy key with the key opening, and that is used in order to break open your arm or to unlock your face, let's say. That made me think of Insidious Part 4, where you have this ghost with these keys on her fingers. And also, just like this movie, a little keyhole comes into your flesh, and then the key goes in, and then she unlocks your voice so you cannot speak anymore. And then this movie, the same thing happens. You have this little keyhole, and then this engineer key goes in and click. But then you get unlocked, and then your arm pops open or your face pops open. So I am just saying that the writer of Insidious, the guy who works at Blumhouse, who probably saw this movie maybe 10, 20, let's say 10 years or 20 years, it's not even possible.
10 years,
he saw the movie. he probably saw it, and then because it was, of course, crazy, and you have to, for it to enrich your worldview. I'm not saying he ripped it off, but I'm pretty certain that in the back of his head, maybe, in a subliminal way, it kind of lingered with him, and then
Yeah.
it ended up in a Blumhouse film. So, maybe. But I just say, even if it's not, the idea, they were like 8 years earlier. So at least.
Do you think in that scene, is she dreaming in that scene, or is that a legitimate scene that actually happens to her?
Which
the
one?
The bit where the killer's son has her and unlocks her arm, and her arm just spreads open.
Well, I think it has to be true because he turned.
And it's interesting you say that, because I can show a reference to that of what happens to her at the end.
Yeah, she becomes an engineer herself.
Yeah.
And then this is the only thing that I have to comment on, and I don't know if I missed it, that I blinked. Maybe I blinked too long, but I don't remember her losing that arm to start with.
No,
it was the moment that another good gruesome scene where her best friend or her mother figure gets pulled
that scene,
four pieces with 4x4 cars. That after that, those cops attack her. We hear a sound, and then all of a sudden she has this arm. So maybe they lost the scene. They wanted to shoot a scene as she lost the arm, but they didn't shoot it, or they just couldn't, or they lost it, or they cut it for some reason. But or they didn't shoot it because of the scheduling or something. But I'm missing a scene that her hand gets cut.
Oh, well, I don't quite recall it either. So maybe we're both missing that scene.
Now we're on this image. We saw the same creature, let's say, with walking around on four swords. Katana sword. And now you have this very, very blatant Robert Rodriguez Planet Terror reference. But then this to me sounds like we're taking it back. It's like, because like Machine Girl and and Meatball Machine, Japan has been replacing limbs for guns for years, and then Rodriguez comes and has this Garlag woman in Planet Terror, and they're like, oh yeah, well, we'll do 4.
Yeah,
we'll do 4. All limbs are machine guns. So that sounds more like a little jab at the West, like we can do better, we
good on him. Good on him.
Yeah.
Let's look at these cars. Why did Nishimura get a discount on Saabs?
I guess so.
They're the police car of the
which
future.
Is weird because I don't see Saabs a lot, and I don't think this is like because normally you would like the commission we talked about during the email section. If you would have a commission where you get a little money from the DVDs guys and you get a little money from the theater guys, you could get a little money from the Saab company if they want to sponsor you and if you have to use their cars. But I think it's weird because I don't see a lot of Saabs driving around. Maybe 10 years ago they were a thing. That could be. That's maybe. I don't know. But it looks like it's sponsored. And if not, yeah, maybe they just found a whole lot of these cars lying around in a junkyard or something. Or I don't know. I think it's also a weird choice to have this roof on top of the car.
Yes.
That way.
What the hell is the roof?
I don't know. It's a design just to make it look different, I guess. I cannot explain it. I'm pretty sure there's an explanation for it. I'm pretty sure if you ask the art guy, he's like, "Oh, that's very logical Japanese stuff. What are you talking about?" But if you ask me, I have no idea. I also think it's kind of ugly. In all honesty, It doesn't look that good. And about Nishimura recycling things, like he does this iconic shot in this one, in Vampire Girl, and then it evolved into his Mutant Girl Squad segment. Technically, those uniforms are also reused in Mutant Girl Squad because those police uniforms look very similar to those Tengu uniforms, the Tengu soldier uniforms in Mutant Girl Squad.
Well, they're not much, just a kind of leather jacket and a white shirt.
Yeah, and of course that helmet, the whole thing that is.
Yes, the helmet. Yeah.
White shirt. No, I'm not talking about the Mutant Girl Squad itself. The one they're fighting.
Yeah, the Tengu nose dudes with the guns in the nose. Yeah.
They're
So
not
do
white,
you
they're
remember?
black.
Do you remember back to our chat about Train to Busan, and I was talking about Nintendo being everywhere?
Yes.
Yeah. So in
Oh,
this movie, there's a
notice
great
on here?
little Wii reference.
Oh, yeah. In the commercial with the, that the reference of so in the film you see a little family, and they this is again what I said with this theme of violence. They use a Wii to kill a guy live on remote. So the idea is that there's somebody hanging somewhere, and if you use the Wii, you can basically really kill him by using your Wii remote, and then it will happen in real life with that person on your TV.
I love the way the mother just takes the control, and she does the most graphic, just, and she really goes to town on the guy after she's trying to call everyone, I think, to go to dinner.
I see a good comment in the comment section about our the question of the roofs for the cars, for the police cars, and it seems that normally those type of roofs are seen on funeral cars.
Oh.
So I guess they are the bringers of death.
Well, that makes sense. They do seem to like to do street executions everywhere.
Yeah. So and I guess in the theme of this police being so, violent and using violence as a positive thing, and violence is so big a thing in the society, that I guess them having that the cops are basically funeral guys makes sense, I guess.
So before we move on, there's just one last thing I'd like to talk about with this film.
I have two more things before you.
Two more? Perfect. Well, I'll go first if you don't mind. It is the police headquarters. And I love the fact that her, the boss, the commissioner, is sitting on a desk in the middle of an empty floor. And it literally is empty. There is nothing else but his desk and the four-sworded legged girl. And I'd love to know some of the reasoning behind the abandoned police building. Like, is it just that they have absolutely no rules, no boundaries, nothing, that they don't even really need a headquarter because they've got no paperwork to do. They've got no police holding cells. It's just a place for their guns. Cause I think there's a scene where you see them with lockers. They grab some things out, and there's a couple of chairs where they're sitting down as well. But the headquarter, and you can see the back of the headquarter in this picture here. It's nothing. Absolutely nothing.
Empty building.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's twofold. I think your explanation is perfect, that they don't need anything because they kill everyone. So why would they need anything? They just go out, kill, go back. They don't need anything. I think that's a great explanation. But I also do see a lot of movies, especially low-budget movies, that have empty, abandoned buildings as sets. So I think it's also a semi-cost performance thing, that it is that they just knew someone who had this building available, or they just found it and they could get it for cheap. I don't want to denigrate the meaning of an empty building, but I just see it so much in low-budget films that, in my opinion, is just a budgetary thing.
Okay.
But I do think your explanation is great. So if they could have combined that by having a little less cost plus a cool-ass explanation, then I'm all for it.
I'm going to call Nishimura and tell him that that's the answer he needs to give from now on.
Well, I have his email. I can ask. It's like, hey.
Beautiful. 8-year-old reply.
Two things. I wanted to have two more things before I give it a 9 for spectacle, which the movie deserves. Last time we talked about, you thought it was shot on film. Well, I don't think it's shot on film.
This one, no.
It looks very digital.
Yeah.
However, because they got more money than normally, I do think that they probably got better cameras and more long lenses. That is something you don't see in later films. And what I'm thinking, that could be the Western influence because they paid for it. Or it could be because they tried to mimic a Western movie because a Western guy gave them money and it's for the Western market. So they try to appeal to the Western market. Because I noticed that they did use a lot of close-up shots and low angles. I mean, because that's what we like in the West. We like low angles and tight shots. But in Japan, and working with a lot of Japanese cinematographers, they generally always default to wide shots and from top down. So from high camera angles and wide shots. This movie didn't have that as much. It went more low and it went more close, which is very, very remarkable, because later movies went back to their top down wide shot. So I thinking is because it was American company who paid for it, and that they tried to mimic the American aesthetic to please the audience abroad. That's what I can guess. It could also
be times where the frame rate felt much more than 24. I could swear at times it felt like the movie was running at a 50 frame rate. It was super smooth at certain times. The picture was super clear. Now, I know they probably wouldn't have done that, but
probably not. No,
just maybe my TV was doing something funny then with the picture.
Personally, I didn't see it. Maybe you just have a good TV that I kind of does good. That. Because I saw that. No, I saw that. I saw some TVs that have that built in that kind of give you that 60 frames per second illusion.
It's awful.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I didn't notice it in my copy. But all I can say is that, yeah, it looks a little bit more pleasing for the Western eye. And I think that's because that's where the money came from. And they or try to appease to the American market, or this John guy from Media Blast who says, hey, can you make it look a little bit more American? Because I had to do it with my cinematographers constantly. I have to constantly tell them to go low and to go tight, because they default automatically in high, in a high angle and a wide shot. That's the only thing I can say about that. And then, like I said, a 9 for spectacle. And because it's a 9 for spectacle, what do we want? We want a sequel. Do they say there will be a sequel?
They do.
They do very much. They do it multiple times. They even have the words on the screen that says more coming
soon. Yes.
And there was no gore coming. This is what I wanted to say. Because first of all, the story sets it up, but that the army is now privatized. So in other words, that's your new enemy right there. Then still this engineer's alive with his box cutter arm girlfriend, or this girl.
But she's back to normal.
Well, her arm is off. She has bandage on one arm. So the cutter is removed.
Okay, yeah.
But anyway, so this only makes me speculate, because let's look at the email again, right? What did Nishimura said? He said that his first movie, and I know he meant his first Made for the West movie, did very well. So why wouldn't there be a sequel? However, we also know that this Fever Dream company with TOKYO-SHOCK only did 4 titles. And then after that, Sushi Typhoon from the big Japanese company Nikatsu did those type of movies with the same people. So this kind of, again, makes me think that they bought Fever Dream and they never did a sequel. But actually, that wouldn't make sense, because if you would buy Fever Dream, you have the rights for Tokyo Gore Police, you would make a sequel because it was successful. So then it made me think that Nikatsu, the big Japanese company, gave awesome contracts to all these people, to Nishimura, to Noboru, and then said, come work for us. And we together as Japanese will make these type of films. We don't need Media Blasters. We don't need the Fever Dream. Let's just, you and me together, proud Japanese, let's make our own films and call it Sushi Typhoon. And then when this guy from Media Blasters said, hey, so shall we do Gore Police 2? That Nishimura said, I cannot.
I can't do it.
I am under contract with a big company that gives me a lot of money. Of course, this is pure speculation. I know absolutely no 100% details of anything, but that's what I can imagine that happened. And, because we have to explain it somehow. How come there's no sequel to Tokyo Gore Police? The movie did very well. It even set up a sequel. With other words, that this guy from Media Blast said, well, guys, you better put a little disclaimer at the end, because we're going to do another one. And then it never happened. So, something happened there.
That's a real shame. Now, I don't know if you've seen the same copy that I've seen, but
mine is not Blu-ray. Mine was older
copy
Blu-ray version.
Because all the titles, all the graphics in it were all in English, and I just felt, yes, okay, I get it that it's a Fever Dream TOKYO-SHOCK label, but it didn't feel like there was a Japanese intro to it. It was just missing a lot of Japanese text other than the title coming through is Tokyo Gore Police.
Yeah, I guess but the thing is, these movies are made for the West. Machine Girl was one of them, the first one actually. And like I said, I believe in the last episode when we talked about Mutant Girl Squad, when I talked about the road to Culture Shock, the joke's on me. I love these movies. I came to Japan to make these movies, and then they were made for me. So they're not Japanese at all. They're just made for the West. So I think that's why there's no Japanese in them. Because the same thing with our label. We want to have although our movies are Japanese made and with Japanese talent, we also want to kind of infiltrate as a Western film in the market so that people find just a different voice, a different taste and color in the same thing they normally used to watching. But also on the American film market, a lot of people told us, hey, if this is a Japanese film, you should put Japanese on the poster, or you should put Japanese in the movie. And I'm like, yeah, but that's not my goal. My goal is to make it more mainstream. And that's why I don't want to just say, hey, look at this stuff from Japan. I want you to look at it and be like, this is nice, but it's a little different. What is it? Oh, wait, it's not made by an American. That's kind of what I want to go for. And I think that's the same thing that they were going for. But then, of course, we have different nuances in how we operate. And their nuance was more like, this is 100% Japanese, but it is made for you, let's say.
Yeah.
Or actually, did they even do that? Maybe they even just said, this is 100% Japanese, but then just no Japanese text in it. I don't know. Everybody has their own way of working. But that's why we didn't put the Japanese in. But I can imagine that it was never meant to be released in Japan at all. And that's why there is not Japanese text in the opening credits or in anything.
Well, the end credits has some Japanese, and the title of the movie is in Japanese. But the very first card I see is Nishimura, a Yoshihiro Nishimura film. That is the very first thing that pops up on the screen.
Later, they still do it later, but then they do dual language, like Mutant Girl Squad, stuff like that.
Yeah, so I've got a feeling. I think because this disc is region A, so I believe it's an American disc. So maybe they've
just be localized
version. This also says it's supposed to be a 2-disc edition, but I didn't get a second disc.
I have no idea.
I got ripped off.
I think the DVD was in 2 discs because the DVD's in 2 discs. So it's they just took that information from the DVD.
Oh, I got dudded. Actually, I bought this in Hong Kong.
So you think it's a copy? I mean, like
no, it's definitely not a copy. It's an original. It's a silver back, so it's not a bootleg. But I bought that in Hong Kong. I think for 50 Hong Kong dollars.
I don't know why it says 2 discs and there's no 2 discs in it. Technically, the film should fit on one. I don't know, but anyway, I do see a lot of English in these type of films, and the only way that I can describe it, because of course I don't know it from them, I don't know it from the horse's mouth themselves. Maybe they will give me a completely different explanation, but I can imagine is because it is made for the Western market. We don't need to have everything Japanese, and also we want to show our name so that they can remember us. So that's why.
True.
I think that's more something's coming here. Wait a minute, there's something in the chat.
The movie was released in the US first. Wow.
And then, that's with a lot of movies, by the way, in general, especially with these type of films. And actually, a nice little throwback to Mutant Girl Squad, which I learned also after the episode, which was a pretty too bad, because I was like, oh shit, I should have known that so we could talk about it. But Mutant Girl Squad, that movie was already in festivals before they made it.
Hey.
Yeah, so those type of movies were so popular. Nishimura and Noboru and Tak Sakaguchi were so popular that after Gore Police, Machine Girl, and all those movies they made, and the Sushi Typhoon, they just got into a festival on a pure concept and made the movie after they got accepted.
Oh, that's so pretty awesome.
Yeah, so they were already accepted to go to a festival before they made the film.
So it's just name alone. Wow.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of names.
Just names alone, yeah.
Speaking of names, next fortnight's movie is special because it has a particular name in it as the line producer.
Oh, is that true? Who?
I believe so. Because I saw that on IMDb. when I had a look at this particular movie on IMDb. Let's talk about next week's film.
Yes, next week's film. Oh, by the way, just to end it, like I said, I gave Tokyo Gore Police. I keep messing up. Tokyo Gore Police a 9 for spectacle. So if you love spectacle, if you love gore, it's a thick 9. Go watch it.
Hell yeah.
That's what I say.
Yeah.
All right, next movie.
Next movie is next week's movie. Next fortnight's movie. Yes, I don't know why it says next week on the title. We'll have to talk to the producer about fixing the title up.
Oh, it's the producer again, huh?
Always that's pesky person. So this movie is called Tokyo is Not Hot.
Yes.
And
so after we glorified Japan in our previous episodes, now it's time for a Chinese movie that says, well, you know what, Tokyo's not that hot. Tokyo's not that cool. It's not that amazing. The title is based on a song, a well-known Chinese song, which also talks about the fact that, Tokyo's not that hot. But the history of that and the story behind that song, I will also try to find for next episode. But basically, this movie is based on a true story of a well-known idol becoming a porn actress. And then this Chinese movie takes that true story and create a fictional narrative around it about three bumbling Chinese guys going to Tokyo in order to, in long story short, basically to save the girl from porn. But the big story is that it starts with that these guys are filmmakers. They want to make a very edgy movie, but in
China.
Yeah, in China. So these are Chinese filmmakers that want to make an edgy movie in China, a artistic edgy movie. And then they find a manager that says that, there's this one Japanese actress that will do anything. So for your edgy movie, she's perfect. You can do whatever you want. Porn doesn't matter. She will do everything. So they shoot the movie with her. And then the director, I believe it's the director. Next episode, we'll know for sure after we saw the movie because it's been a while. He has like a little romantic moment with her, and then their bond is broken. And then the film is done. She's back to Japan, and then we are a little time further, let's say, like a few months later, and then all of a sudden, these guys get invited to go to Japan because their edgy movie won an award. So then they go to Japan to get their award, but their award is a porn award. But they made. So in Japan, their movie was released as a porno movie with added pornographic scenes, and that's where the comedy ensues. And this is where they get in contact with Yakuza and all kinds of different people, and then it just becomes one big crazy. It's a romantic comedy, so it becomes one big crazy stuff. And then they also decide, while they're there, let's just try to save the girl from porn, and that's what the title means. Tokyo's Not Hot means is that, they treat women badly in the porn industry, let's say.
Cool.
Because there is an industry.
So just a bit of backstory for anyone watching. We can't show you the trailer, unfortunately, because it is copyrighted to Youku, who have a habit of taking down streams.
It's a Youku original, and Youku is very, very protective of of their work, let's say, of their investment.
Yeah, so it's frustrating as a channel to talk about Youku films and not be able to actually do anything with them. So this one's going to be, so for anyone out there who wants to watch the film, we're going to try and leave a link, but we're pretty sure that you might need a VPN to watch it. So we're encouraging you to tune in for the conversation around the film and about the stories that come out of it.
Yeah, so long story short for now, this movie is one that we did the line production for. Tokyo Bay Films did the line production in Japan for this film. And originally, the director who wrote this film wanted the original porn star to be the lead of this film. And it was up to us as the Japanese contact or the man in Japan for that team, let's say, for us to make that deal happen. So that's the story for next episode, how we went into the porn industry dark dungeons in order to try to get an actress to work on this Chinese project. And that even us went through Yakuza and stuff like that. So it's like the film, we experienced the same thing in real life.
Can I ask a dumb question?
Yeah.
I mean, I know the answer to this. I really know. But just for those watching, what does a line producer do?
Oh, a line production is basically the actual on-set production. So you have the producer who gets all the money. The line producer is the guy that is on set getting everything together in order for you to shoot the film. So he will get the location, he will get the actors on time. He will basically make sure that line production means the actual production to make you make the movie on set that day. Beautiful. And that's what we did. So when they came to Japan, we made sure that the travel arrangement, it's like for what we do for the Chinese that come to Japan, we're like a glorified travel agent that makes sure that they have their own hotel and they have all the locations ready. So we have the events ready. So you can see it as tourists come to have a Disneyland trip, but then instead of Disneyland trip, they come here with the equipment and then they shoot a movie. And then we are the ones who have to get the Disneyland ready and all the hotels and all the stuff. And all the local,
like I said, I knew this. Just for the people who didn't. And also, know.
So what we did for this film is that we did all the travel arrangements, we did all the locations hunting with them, of course, and we did the casting with them, of course. So we make sure that all the Japanese contacts get contacted for them to make the film and to make all the deals, and we also make sure the deals happen on our side. Let's say we also we handle all the Japanese activities for the Chinese. Cool. And then for a normal film that's local, we just we do that locally, if that makes sense.
So we might go to the chat. There were a couple of questions or a couple of comments that came up on the chat. We need one from Glenn. Glenn Taft said that Vampire Girl versus Frankenstein Girl is a good film, but he enjoyed Hell Driver and Machine Girl more. Also, he really wants to see your film. He wrote a comment, I so need to see this, which was when he was watching the trailer.
All right.
Tokyo Homestay. I know Glenn's based in the UK, so Tubi is unavailable for him, so he might have to look into a VPN to help out. And we've had a lovely Wrong How has been sending us some lovely messages. She's been giving us a lot of excellent information that we probably should have prepared beforehand, but it's great. She's actually given you some great advice. Maybe you need to contact Nishimura and just get that ball rolling again.
Yeah, I guess I have to pick up that old email thread and be like, hey, remember me?
Yeah.
Or I should, no, I got a better idea. I should end exactly the same as that Nanai always starts, like, I'm sorry for my late reply. And then I will start with, dear Nanai, I'm sorry for my late reply. And then I'm replying to the last email I got like 10 years ago.
Well, that would be fantastic. We've come to an end of another great show.
This was the end of another great show. Yes. Yeah. And like I said, next episode, we're going to go into a crazy story about porn stars and whatnot and working with the Chinese. So be ready for that.
How could you not want to watch that?
Before we go anywhere, that segues me into the last sponsor for today.
I have no video to show, so I'm going to have to go full screen on you, my friend.
Oh, really? Well, you could just keep this because technically
it's for us.
This is what it is.
Yeah.
Monday night Asian movie talk show live. Every other Monday, Asian movie reviewer the Arty Dan sits down with Tokyo-based film producer Wilco C Rullens to casually chat about Asian movies. Join them live to discover Asian films from the perspective of a film reviewer with harsh criticisms. That's you. A film producer with inside tidbits. That's me. But most importantly, from the perspective of two fans with a love for Asian cinema. Although we're going to watch some bad movies, and then you'll notice that we will have less love for those. The show will soon feature guests ranging from CEOs of film production companies to former AV stars to talk about their experiences in the Asian film industry. So stay tuned. Join us every other Monday on the Arty Dans YouTube channel, youtube.com/theartydance for a new episode of Monday Night Asian Movie Talk Show Live.
We're also going to have in a future episode another very well-known YouTuber. He's going to be talking with us when we do patriotic Chinese movies. He says he really enjoys them, and he's going to have some fun with us. Unfortunately, he's based in the US, So we're probably going to have to adjust the time of that episode slightly. Otherwise, we're going to ask him to wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning. And I thought that was a little unfair.
For our American buddies, we should have a midnight show. We should, for our time, midnight show. But we have to see how we're going to juggle that. But yes, that's true. Like I said, it's from CEOs of film production companies to former AV stars. That includes YouTubers, other reviewers, and So
and of course, us.
We're going to get company. We're already.
Where can people find you during the week when you're not here?
Yes. So if you would like to follow our development, I got a link tree in the description. There you can find all our socials. The Instagram, please leave a like. There's also the Instagram of a game project we're working on. Please leave a like. The Twitter is pretty much dead, so if you want to give that a like, that would be great too. And I will promise I will start uploading more news in the future. Also, all the links of where you can get Tokyo Homestay Massacre are in the link tree. So it's like one stop shop for everything Tokyo Bay Films, and also some information on me, even my old YouTube. So if you have nothing to do, you can roam around those links.
I definitely think people need to check out Goulash, which is a short movie showing on your channel. It is. I don't care if
it's a feature. It's an hour long.
It's a feature. Yeah,
official.
I don't care if it's not in English. It is hilarious to watch.
True. I will have subs for the unsubbed, the ones that have no subtitles. I will have subs soon. So yeah, you can watch one short film now, which is Multi-Midget, which has subs. But the Goulash, I will work on a subtitle for Goulash. That's a feature. That's an hour long. It's full with double meaning sex jokes. So it's going to be very tough to make subtitles for that, because it's originally Dutch. So if we have to make that in English, I don't know if all the jokes will make sense if we just literally translate them. So, but stay tuned for that.
We'll have a look at that file before you upload it. We'll make sure we get enough good gags in it.
Oh yeah. We have to a lot of dad jokes, double meaning, that kind of
Beautiful.
stuff. You know, like that kind of craziness. So Dan, also on the air here, I would like to ask you if you could put the link of that YouTube YouTube, the YouTube channel, Yuku's YouTube channel, with the trailer we are gonna discuss in next episode. So at least people could click the trailer to see what we will be reviewing in 2 weeks' time.
Cheers. I'll put it as a pinned comment once the video has finished and it starts uploading. So probably in the next couple of minutes. I'll put it as a pinned comment. As always, you can find me on this channel, and starting very shortly, the original Asian Film Fans channel, which with the logos on this side, is going through a bit of a change right now. All the trailers, I haven't told you this yet, all the trailers are being deleted and removed. We're kind of just getting a bit sick of copyright claims and the general inability to do anything with trailers on YouTube. And we're going to start doing a lot more original content on the Asian Film Fans YouTube channel. Okay. The Tokyo Homestay one will stay on there, as will King's Feast, because they are original trailers. They are not trailers that we've been provided to us by marketing companies or ones that we've got off public marketing drives and stuff like that, which is usually how we get these trailers. So the idea is, we'll be slowly moving some content across to Asian Film Fans. We might even try doing a dual broadcast of this show on Asian Film Fans as well. There's 25,000 subscribers there, so it'd be great to tap into that audience as well. Otherwise, this has been the Arty Dans.
Yes, and this has been Wilco.
And thank you very much, everyone, for joining us for the Monday Night Asian Movie Talk Show live.
See you next time.
See you next time.
Bye-bye.